We saved money for 9 years to buy the old house that belonged to my grandparents. During the family barbecue, my sister said out of the blue that I had agreed to let her live there. My wife, daughter, and I, 27 years old, just closed on our dream home, and the whole family is torn. For many years, my grandparents lived in the family home. When they died suddenly, leaving us with a big hospital bill and other costs, we had to sell it. It was terrible and sad, and when I was a little girl, I vowed to buy the house back one day. My sister and I talked about my dreams. My wife and I met when we were 18 and 21 years old. Her folks owned a small rental house and let her live there. You can live there for free and only pay for your costs. After a year of dating, she told me I should move in with her. A year later, we got married. She totally agreed with my plan to buy my grandparents' house when I told her about it. We began putting away huge amounts of cash for a down payment in the hopes that the house would not sell before we could afford it. Because we didn't pay rent and had good jobs for our ages and the economy where we lived, we were able to save a lot of money. Along with the $75,000 down payment, my in-laws also asked us to put down about $185,000, 20 years after It was put back on the market at a high price after the grandparents died. The house is huge. It has 6 bedrooms, a huge waterfront property, and many nice features, like a pool and a small guest house. We knew this house would cost a lot, so we spent less and saved for 9 years to buy my dream home. At the same time, my sister was looking for a house, but she had a lot less money to spend. They have a lot of school debt, have rented for years, and haven't been able to save money like my wife and I have. When the house our grandparents owned went on the market, I sent my sister a link and told her that we were finally going to be a family again. She told them she was very excited, and that was that. My wife and I moved forward and met with the owners and working with real estate brokers, getting the house inspected, and putting in an offer. When they said yes, we were thrilled. During the whole process, my sister kept saying how happy she was to have the house back in the family. It will be so cool for her kids to know this house and grow up here, just like she and I did. Every birthday, holiday, meeting, and family gathering was held at our grandparents' house. That's how my wife and I planned to do it again. Because of this, what my sister said did not send any red flags. It's odd that she said it that way, but don't worry about it. To celebrate the end of our home, we had a cookout at my folks' house. A mill worker offered to crate our dogs while we moved to make things easier and safer for them during dinner, which made my sister speak up. She asked us why we needed to watch our dogs when her kids were the real problem. When my wife asked her what she meant, she said that her kids would need more care than our dogs. She didn't understand why we would be so busy that our dogs would need to be watched. I told her that I was the one who didn't understand. There was no way I knew she was helping us move. If her kids couldn't be left alone, she didn't need to help us pack. My sister asked me and my wife why we were going to pack. I told her what she already knew: we just bought a house. I'll skip most of the back and forth to save space, but here's the basically. My sister thought that when we bought the house, we would either rent it out to her family or B, give her the title and expect her to pay us back on time. Yes, that's exactly what she thought, even though we had never talked about that subject before. When I told my sister that wasn't going to happen, she got upset. It made her very angry because it was also her dream. And it wasn't fair that only one of us could go through it. That her kids should grow up in the family home because she had kids. And what did my wife and I need all that room for? She was told by my wife that it is no longer the family house. It wasn't left in a will, we bought it. And it is now our house. And we choose what to do with it. My sister told my wife to calm down because she didn't have a say in the family matter. I told my sister that we would not talk to her again if she talked to my wife like that again. The fact that she can't act like we're giving her a house and then get angry when she's told no. After that, we left. There were several times when my in-laws talked to us about the issue, but they all agreed with us that my sister was acting badly. I thought everyone would agree, but if they did, I wouldn't be reading this. My parents told me we were acting badly and making threats against my sister through texts and voicemails. They told me they were upset that I had ruined my sister's dream, and that since I don't have kids, I can't understand or want to give them a good home and childhood like she did. That it's only fair that we come up with a way to give her the house, and that we have the money to do so. Something else. Some of my less close cousins have said that we were mean to take that away from her. Seriously, I'm shocked and amazed. Some people feel entitled to live in the houses their ancestors owned, but I never planned to live there. It seems strange, and I'm sorry that this news story starts off on such a bad note. Change. That went off in such a short amount of time. Thank you for your help. I will keep you informed if this stays interesting and doesn't die down. This is a real case, which is sad. Also, just in case you're interested, the house is big and fancy, but it's so badly out of date. Because of this, in today's home market, and price and features don't always match up, I mean, I don't think anyone who lived there after my grandparents fixed anything up. I'm also a woman, haha. Thank you, but I can't read or answer all of these comments. Even though not much has happened since my last post this morning, I will keep writing. I have a few more things to say about what has happened since the gathering. I haven't responded to any of my family members' comments, to be honest. I didn't think this was such a big deal. But after reading the comments with my wife for a while, we're both taking it a lot more seriously. Right now, there is no way to set up a protection system. Too much work needs to be done on the house at the. It's time to put in cams and other things. It would be hard to do anything else, so they would have to be taken down for some of the jobs. Right now, we can't even connect to the internet on the site. Before we get to the cosmetics, I'll set up meetings with different companies to get them to come out and work on the land. But someone will change the locks on Thursday. We're not going to move into the house for a while because it needs a lot of work before we can be happy with it. Some people have said the story isn't true because the house's price doesn't seem to match its specs. A lot of work needs to be done on the house. The price shows that it hasn't been worked on or changed in years. Additionally, we are lucky to reside in a state where home prices have not risen too dramatically. Thoughts? How much did the house cost with a down payment of more than $200,000? NTA, but you made your first mistake by telling your sister about the ad. The house cost a little more than $800,000 outright, but the down payment was only about $100,000. The rest was used for moving costs, closing costs, and upgrades, also known as changes. It had a very dangerous deck that looked like it was made by the owners and had to be torn down and rebuilt from scratch. Oop says that she is making a will for the house in case she and her wife die. This keeps her family from fighting over who has the formal right to the property. I honestly never thought about this. I always thought wills and trusts were enough. But this is a scary option. Thank you, and I will give this a lot of thought. Second change, July 30th, 2024. Thanks to everyone who has helped. They were helpful and gave advice. For those who suggested putting in a security system, we will. But the house isn't in a place where one can be put in. Somebody on Reddit suggested we get battery-powered trail cameras for now, so we won't have to worry about internet access and the cameras won't get in the way of renovations. I can't find your message anymore, but you know who you are. We are restoring the house to its former glory, which includes putting down new carpet in the bedrooms and fixing up the wallpaper that doesn't match. We'll be replacing broken things and upgrading old tools, as well as painting, refinishing the floors. Putting up new flooring, windows and doors, and removing some walls that aren't needed. My wife and I will be meeting with contractors for the next 2 weeks to work on wiring, plumbing, and other things. We will also be meeting with a home security company for a consultation. We also want to buy alarms, door codes, and cameras, as well as put up an entry gate around the land. One of those that needs a key or someone in the house to let you in. We already planned to change the locks, so we don't mind that my family is living there. While the work is being done, my in-laws have let us park their tent trailer on their land. Not only for peace of mind, but also so they don't have to drive back and forth several times a day. To get to the update. This update came so quickly after my first piece that it made me hesitant to write it. But I think enough has happened for it to be important. The BBQ happened last week. But I didn't write about it on my blog until yesterday. I asked my parents and brothers to get together to talk things over and figure out what the hell is going on in a message I sent them last night. The family of my brother and I met my wife and I at his house before my sister came. They were warned that we would leave if they tried to talk over us or interrupt. I told them I had never asked for my sister to be able to rent or buy the house from us. That you didn't know where she got the idea. And I showed them the text strings where I sent her the listing the first time. Every time we talked, I let her know what was going on. When my mom asked to see the rest of the talks about the house, I told her there weren't any more. They were told by my sister that my wife and I had decided to buy it and then rent it out to my wife's family until they could afford to buy it, that they could live in the main house while we stayed in the guest house. She told them that we had broken our promise, which meant she couldn't raise her kids in the house where she grew up. There was no problem getting my parents to believe us when we told them our side of the story. My parents didn't even try to defend me because my sister didn't have any proof or formal papers. What she told them. My parents told us they were sorry, and that if they had known the truth, they would never have said those hurtful things to us. They also promised that they stood by us completely. Not only did my brother back us, but he also never bothered us about it, so his response is not as important. That's when my sister and her husband showed up. I didn't expect much from my Bill because he's a loser and will give my sister anything she wants. I asked her to show me any proof of that. Would show that I told her we were going to rent the house to her. She was told that her lie was stupid and that she should have a good reason. The woman tried to say that I had deleted the messages, but when she couldn't show me the messages, her story fell apart. She broke down in tears and said it wasn't fair that we had everything, that we didn't need such a big house, and that we were wasting her money. So from what I hear, she thought she could trick everyone into making us rent our house to her? I guess. Like a crazy Scooby-Doo bad guy? She doesn't use ghosts to scare us away. Instead, she uses a fake rental agreement that she didn't even think to make sound or look real. We told her she needed to say sorry a lot before we could even think about dating her again. And we wouldn't let her stay in our house for a while. Time. For obvious reasons, we don't have a good relationship with my parents right now. Their response was that they are ready to help us with moving or remodeling, but we need to think about it carefully to see if we are okay with this. No one in my family will get an extra key, but my wife's parents will get one in case they need it. For a while, the house won't be ready to host guests, so we'll cross the "can my family be trusted at home" bridge when the time comes. To answer some questions that have been asked a lot in the comments. There are some open ends with my sister, but my parents don't fix her. You could call her She was the golden kid and the baby, but most of what she did before this was either an attempt to get more family attention or a way to show who was better. Even though she's moody, spoilt, and a bit greedy, she's never been this crazy before. We are going to get a security system, but not right away. No, I'm not going to give my family a key. I am a woman, yes, I agree that it's strange for two women to get married. The person I'm married to and I do not have children and never will. There are some weird things my sister has done, but nothing as stupid as this. Someone who helps people plan their estate will meet with us to write down everything. Our plan is to leave the land to my niece and her children. For now, my mill will be in charge of our estate. The family of my sister rents a small house in town. They might not be having a hard time. Both of them went to college. With good jobs, but having kids costs a lot of money. And when you add in school debt and rent that costs $2,000 a month, you're not exactly living the dream. Many people are also mad at my wife and me, because we are rich, which is strange. We are not wealthy. They're nice enough to let us stay in their rental for free, because they're friendly. They bought a new house many years ago and didn't sell the old one. That's why they let my wife live there. The down payment came from the college funds my wife had a few years ago. Her folks put money into it, but when she decided to go into trade, they kept the money and set it aside for paying the down payment. When we told them the house was for sale, they finally gave us the money they had saved for her college. Even though our jobs paid well, we saved a lot of money because we didn't have to pay $2,000 a month for room and board. We did cut corners and save money, and we earned it. For years, we didn't spend any extra money on nice things because we wanted to buy what we wanted. That's why it wasn't as exciting as many people had hoped or expected. It doesn't seem like this is the end of it. But right now, my wife and I are more interested in our new house than in my sister. She is now blocked on both of our phones, and I'm not sure when I'll be able to let her through. Thoughts? The correct number is 1,593. It's crazy work to leave it to your own means. Is your sister farther away than your SIL? Oh no, the sister who tried to trick, scare, and force us to give up the house we had just bought, turning. My whole family is against us? My wife's sister is my sister. She is definitely as close to us as my sister. My sister did something sneaky. I would have gotten away with the house if those annoying women weren't there. Ladder syllabub 5,560. Okay, this one did it for me. Every day. Gal. NTA, your sister is crazy, and has made up a story in her head that makes her think she is due or entitled to certain things. It's crazy that your parents believe that story with her. You did the right thing by sticking up for your wife and not putting up with disrespect. NTA live at Western 7133. If you lose your key or your sister gets it, don't give it to them. At any time. Now we'll read the next story. Second story. The new wife of my ex-husband asked my daughter to call her mom. I found out a terrible truth that changed everything when I talked to my daughter. 27F and my ex-boyfriend, who is 26, have a daughter who is 6 years old. We did not get along, so we broke up last year and agreed to co-parent. We both had care of the kids. He just got married a few months ago, and I have nothing bad to say about him or his wife. He is a great dad. His wife, on the other hand, is telling everyone that she not only got married, she also got an extra daughter. I checked his WhatsApp last week while my daughter was with her dad. In a video, she told my daughter to call her mother and talked about how much she looked like her and how people thought she was her real mother. I called the father of my daughter right away. Because I was mad, I fought with him and told him to give my kid back to me. I don't regret it. Even though everyone else thinks I'm being too dramatic. Okay, maybe I am, but I don't think my daughter would ever call anyone else mom. In that case, she told my daughter to call her mom. Not comfortable. Personally, I don't dislike her, and I don't want my child to dislike her either. I want them to get along well with each other and feel safe around each other. Change 2. Thanks for all the replies, they mean a lot to me, and I value them. I talked with my daughter. I'll let you know when I talk to her dad. Thoughts? Neem Nits. Bonus girl is fine. It's not okay to tell her to call her mom. Help your daughter come up with some cool names for her mom that no one else comes up with. In 2023, Beer is awake. She's crazy if she thinks that's even slightly okay. I don't think I could ask my nephew to call me mom. Especially since his mom is, a great mom who is active. My husband also wouldn't put up with it because we all have a nice. They tried to get together but failed, but he still respects her as his son's mother. Today is August 13th, 2024. I just wrote a blog post about how the new wife of my ex-husband asked my daughter to call her mom. To begin, I want to say how thankful I am for all of you. I thought I was responding too much and was going to ignore what was going on. I just talked to my 6-year-old daughter, and I'm shaking RN. Is it possible that she thought I was going to leave her? I had no idea what was going on. I thought I had lost everything. My wonderful child, the joy of my life, thinks I'm going to leave her. I asked her why she thinks that way, but she wouldn't give me any reason. After I had her, I found out that her mom had told her that I would leave her when I found a new partner and start my own family. That woman even said her dad would be the only one who with her until the end. Is she crazy? I told my daughter that I didn't want to get married again, and that I would never leave her, even if something like that happened. She will always be my daughter. To be honest, my daughter is still scared because she thinks I will leave her. This week, my daughter Dee and I are taking time off to spend with my parents. After the short break, I'll hire a counselor for her. My lawyer told me that we have proof, and that he can help me get full control of my child. I don't want to take my ex to court again, but if something like this happens again, I will not think twice. After that, I had to talk to my ex by myself. I told him everything, including how our daughter feels, how his wife doesn't know her limits, and how he would react if I asked my daughter to call a strange number. Dad, man. He said he didn't know what would happen. He only left them alone so that they could get closer. I think he's not telling the truth. For him to understand, I would not let that woman near my daughter at all. We can just go to court if he doesn't agree. We've agreed that he can meet our daughter at his folks' house for now. He can take my daughter to his house after some time if she agrees. He needs to make sure he doesn't leave my child with that woman alone. I also talked to that woman. She broke down in tears and said everything was my fault, because I was jealous of her husband. Why would I want someone else to have my ex? I don't have time or energy to deal with her small problems. I'd say this about that woman. She's making you cry as she does all of this. I gave it a lot of thought, and this is all I could think of. It looks like my ex-in-laws don't want this wedding to happen, so she's either crazy or trying to get them to like her through my daughter. I just want to make things right for my child. I even learnt that my child thinks she is the reason we are getting a divorce. He got married in less than a year, so many of you thought he might be cheating, which he was. I just recently learnt about it, and to be honest, I don't want to talk to him about it. I just want to leave him alone and leave my life without a lot of trouble. Maybe someday I'll talk to him about it and get the answers I'm looking for, but for now I'd rather not. I only want to think about myself and my kid right now. Once more, thank you all. I didn't think my daughter would think of something like this, and you would have been the only one who knew. Comments. Hey there, Creeper74. You're not being too dramatic, you did everything right. You should talk to your daughter, see a lawyer, spend time with her, and set up therapy. You can protect your daughter from her aunt making things worse by talking to your ex and making a plan. In general, your ex sounds like a jerk, but at least he's willing to work with you right now. If his parents don't like his new marriage, you should let ex-Mill know what's going on and what you and your ex agreed to. What I think you could have done. You should have taken your ex to get a vasectomy instead, because Act 2 will happen when this woman has a child with your ex and then turns on your daughter. When I talked to his parents, they said they didn't care about him anymore and only let him into their house because he was going to meet their niece there. I don't think I can make him get a vasectomy either. But I hope they'll take blame if they do.